Hello, everyone. Hey, Andy. Hey, Karen and Amanda. Hey, Bethany. Hey, Francis. Nice to see you again tonight. Welcome, guys. Hey, Ben. Thanks for joining us and for being on time. Hey, Amanda. So nice to see you all. So it's right on 8 o'clock and I'm just going to wait 2 more minutes and then we're going to make a start. We had so many people register for tonight's presentation, so I'll just give everyone a couple more minutes to join us. So whilst we're waiting, I will say that this presentation is being recorded. So if you don't want your beautiful face on the recording, please keep your video off. The recording link will go out tomorrow, okay? So if you, for some reason, lose connectivity or the doorbell rings and you've got to go, don't stress, because tomorrow I will send you a link to the recording and you'll have 48 hours to share it with your friends or to rewatch it again yourself, okay? So there's some more people trickling in. This is great. So for those of you that just joined, welcome. Just letting you all know that this presentation is being recorded and the recording link is going out tomorrow to everyone who registered and whoever you want to share it with. So if you don't want your beautiful face on the recording, please turn your video off. All right, just another minute or so. We've still got more people turning up and then we'll start. So I'm pretty sure, I know all of you very well. Bethany, not so well. You're new in our group, so welcome. But the rest of you, I know you all very well, so it's so good to see you on here. All right, we're going to make a start, guys. It's just it's 3 minutes past 8, so we'll probably get some more people. Here we go, some more people trickling in, so I'll make a very slow start. All right, welcome. Thank you for joining myself and the beautiful Jody. I'm so grateful to you, Jody, for agreeing to do this. This has been on my mind for a really long time, and I want to share why. Just got some more people joining. Okay, the reason why I decided to run this presentation was because I work with people every day that come from all kinds of walks of life and that are facing all kinds of chronic disease. And when I start talking about colonics, it freaks some people out. There's lots of giggles, there's lots of nervous, oh, I don't know if that's for me, comments. And I just wanted to demystify the whole thing. I wanted you guys to really understand what colonics are all about and have an opportunity to ask questions. So I'm very grateful to you, Jody, for joining us tonight. Jody, I'm going to hand over to her in about 10 minutes or so, and she's going to run through everything she knows about, or most things, all the important things that she knows about colonics. Otherwise, we'll be here way too long if we talk about everything. But you guys will have an opportunity to ask questions. So I want to show you something first. So in a minute, I'm going to show you some photos. And if you guys have got a weak stomach, as soon as I start sharing my screen, that's the time that you can look away, right? If you've got a really weak stomach or if you're sitting there eating your dinner. The reason why I want to show you these photos is because tonight, Jody's going to be talking about plaque, mucoid plaque. And some of you may not have any idea what that is or what it looks like. And if you've worked with me before, there's a good chance you pooped it at some point. But if you haven't worked with me before, then you won't know what it is. So I think it's really important that we just share. So, I'm a sharer. Most of you know that about me. I share everything about my life. I share everything about my health, everything about experiences that I have, because I really believe that you never know who needs to hear what you have to say. So I believe if we share from our heart with good intention and we impart knowledge, it helps people make informed decisions when it comes to their health. So that's why we're here, right? So the photos I'm about to share with you are just photos that have come out of my clients, stuff that they've released from their body. And it's been quite an eye-opener for a lot of new people coming into this space to realize what the body can actually store. Like, it's shocking what when you see what the body can actually hold on to. So I work here in Melbourne in a clinic every week, and I see every week someone new presents with some kind of chronic disease. And often people are presenting not so much with, diagnosis, like a diagnosed condition, but they're presenting with really bad symptoms. So you'll have people that present like with chronic headaches and really bad skin and, but poor eyesight and, lethargy and anxiety and all these random symptoms, and they have no idea why they're feeling this way. And they've gone to their GP and their GP can't help them. And then they've gone to naturopaths and the naturopaths can't help them for whatever reason. And they just bounce around the system and they become incredibly frustrated. And I work with a lot of people that by the time they get to me, they're like, I've had enough. Like, I'm not coping very well because I've got all these horrible symptoms and I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. So what you eat obviously makes you at a cellular level. You are what you eat. So yes, of course, your diet plays a huge role in the health that you experience. But I've said this 1,000 times, your diet is only a very small part of the big picture. So even though you might have a really great diet, if you're not supporting your colon and that detoxification process, and you're full of parasites and you're full of mucoid plaque, you're going to still have poor energy, headaches, brain, mental fatigue, insomnia, anxiety, and a whole range of other things as well. You're going to also experience malabsorption because we absorb our minerals in that small intestinal tract. And if that's overrun with plaque, then you can supplement until you turn blue. You're not going to resolve the problem because the problem is the plaque. The plaque is creating such high levels of malabsorption in your system. And, you're going to stay anemic until you resolve the root cause of the problem. So, when we talk about supplementation, you may have heard me say many times, take some iron supplement to keep you safe because, you might not absorb it all, but you need some iron in your body, right? So supplement, of course, but whilst you're treating the symptoms, you've got to resolve the root cause. Always ask, why am I anemic? Why am I low in B12? Why are all these things happening to me? Always look for the root cause if you want to experience permanent solutions to the problems that you're going on for you in your health. So mucoid plaque is what your body produces as a response mechanism to keeping you safe. In a perfect world, if you did all the right things, and trust me, nobody does, not even me, like we are constantly smashed with toxicity. It's just the way of the world these days. We're constantly being bombarded with toxins. So in a perfect world, none of us would have mucoid plaque. We don't live in a perfect world. So what happens is as we start to breathe and ingest all these toxins, they have to make their way out of our system somehow. So they've got to make it the way that to exit, the exit path is through the digestive system. So over time, when your viral load is high, your body produces plaque to protect you. Because there's a very small barrier. There's a barrier in your small intestinal tract that protects your blood. It knows, it's got an intelligence. It knows what to let into the bloodstream to nourish you, all the nutrients, and what to leave out, what to push out. Over time, when you're getting too many toxins passing through there and too much acid in your system, that wall becomes weakened. And that weakening of that barrier causes all sorts of issues. You may have heard of leaky gut. That's exactly what leaky gut is all about, right? You've got weaknesses in that barrier, and there is stuff leaking into your bloodstream, which is what's making you really, really sick, right? So your body tries to protect you and protect from that happening. And so it creates it strengthens the wall by creating the plaque to line the wall to strengthen it. So that the shit doesn't go and it doesn't end up in your bloodstream. And that's great, right? Because it keeps you alive. You don't want all those toxins in your bloodstream because you could, there are some of those nasty things that you might be ingesting can potentially be life-threatening. But over time, that plaque builds and builds and builds. And now we have a highly inflammatory state. We're full of plaque, perfect environment for parasites, perfect environment for disease. Now we can't, the shitty shit's not going through into our bloodstream, but neither are the nutrients. So it just creates an absolute havoc in our digestive system. And so you can see now how, yes, it's important to eat good food. It's important to hydrate. It's important to go for walks and move your body. It's important to sit in the sun. It's important to do all the things. It's also important to support your body's natural detoxification, because your body knows how to detox. And if you just do a couple of little things to help it do its job, like hydrate yourself and eat good levels of soluble and insoluble fiber, have regular colonics, which is a big part of it. I'm really passionate about this topic, which we're going to talk a lot about tonight, obviously. If you do those things, it's going to promote your body's ability to excrete all that cellular and metabolic waste out of your body instead of it accumulating on the wall of your small and large intestine. So before I started doing colonics, I was really nervous. I bought an enema kit and I'm like, what the hell do I do with this thing? Where do I stick it? How far do I stick it up? I was really nervous and I was scared that I was going to hurt myself. I remember doing my first enema at home, thinking to myself, fuck, I'm going to perforate my bowel. I was really nervous because that's all I'd heard. In my head, that's all I remembered. I heard one thing over the 20 years of my life, adult life. So one person once in Queensland perforated their bowel. That's the only thing I could remember. So I'm like, shit, I hope that doesn't happen to me. I had no idea what I was doing. And when I first started experiencing colonics, I was like, wow, the results were just phenomenal. I couldn't believe that it had taken me so long to get on the colonics bandwagon. And when I started working with the right practitioners and I started having the right level of support, it was an absolute game changer for me. And so now colonics are a big part of what I encourage my coaching clients to do, in amongst correcting your diet, hydrating, going for walks, sitting in the sun, blah, 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 and do your colonics. So I want to show you some photos now. Like I said earlier, guys, if you've got a weak stomach, now is the time to turn away, okay? Because I want to show you some photos of what have come out of my clients. All right, so here we go. Look away now. So this is what plaque looks like. So this is a client of mine who had chronic IBS for all her adult life, chronic anemia, and she presented with just excess gut weight. She just could not lose that belly fat. She had chronic headaches, really bad eyesight. She just had a whole list of stuff going on for her. So we did a lot of things. We corrected her diet. We increased her water. She started taking Ultimate Fiber, which most of you know, I'm a big believer in Ultimate Fiber. So yeah, we got the fiber into her, but she also then was doing weekly colonics. She did weekly colonics for about 11 to 12 weeks. And this is a result of what came out of her one night in between her colonic sessions. She was not feeling so great, and I asked her to do an enema at home. And this is what came out. This is plaque. Now, this plaque had been accumulated for God knows how many years in her system. So, this is pretty profound stuff. This is the cause of anemia right here. If you've got this, several meters of this, now this is folded in half. So this is actually double the length, right? If you've got this line in your small intestinal tract, how are you ever meant to absorb anything? Here's some more plaque. So this is a beautiful client of mine that I work with. I worked with her early last year. I worked with her over a period of time. And we were sharing photos one night we were doing group coaching, and we were all doing cleansing and detoxing and a whole bunch of things. She'd worked on herself for quite some time. And then she said, you'll never, ever believe what just came out of me. She said, I feel like I've just shut an intestine. And she was quite nervous. Like, is this normal? Like, what even is this? Is this an organ? Like, what the hell is it? And this is undigested meat. And she hadn't had meat in a long time. So, this is the stuff that the body can hold on to for a very, very, very long time. And it's not unusual for people to hold on to several kilos of shit. Even if you're really, really skinny, it doesn't matter. Your intestines, if you're really, really big or you're really, really skinny, your intestine, for women, it's a little bit different to men, but your intestine length is all the same, right? And it's an expandable muscle. You can hold on to a lot of shit. Right? I get people to weigh themselves before and after their colonics, and they're like, oh my God, I just shat 4 kilos. This is what the body can hold on to, right? Here's another plaque rope. This is actually a friend of mine who did some colon cleansing. You can see there's a very nice parasite. Like, look how long that is. I mean, the relief when that came out of her was phenomenal. There's a parasite there as well, very nasty parasite. Now this photo here, and also the next photo, these are stones from the liver, and these are stones. So these are stones, and the yellow ones are from the liver, the green ones are from the gallbladder. And the brown stuff, it almost looks like a quinoa salad, doesn't it? But this is all undigested food, right? This is absolutely awesome woman that I worked with just recently, so committed to her health. She did some liver flushing and colonics at the same time, right? Really supporting the excretion of that crap. And she did a liver flush and this came out of her. And I really believe that the colonics, along with the other things that she was doing, played a significant role in her body's ability to just let the shit go. And this is the stuff that puts people in emergency. I had a phone call just the other day from someone who's sitting in ER saying, I'm just about to have, they're trying to get me to cut my gallbladder out. What do I do? I'm like, get dressed and go home. You need your gallbladder, right? Like, it's a vital organ. They'll tell you you don't need it. You need your gallbladder. So I have coached people through liver flushes, and that's the sort of stuff that comes out of them. And you couple that with corrected diet and colonics, and this is the stuff that your body can let go of. It's just insane. So I just want to show you these photos because I think sometimes it's really important for people to have a visual whilst, listening to Jodie talking about plaque and her experience. It's always good to have a reference point. So I'm now going to stop talking. I'm going to hand over to Jodie and she's going to tell you everything you need to know about colonics. And I'm monitoring the chat. So please, if you've got questions, please type them in the chat. And if Jodie, as she's talking, she gets, an opportunity to pause, she'll address the questions. Otherwise, she'll go through them all at the end with you, okay? All right, just give me 1 second. I'm just going to remove that. All right, over to you, Jodes.
Hi, Di. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. So I'm Jodie from Bendigo Wellness Centre. Been here for about 4 years and still people don't know that I'm here. So it's good to meet you all. First thing I want to talk about is the difference between an open and a closed system. So there are many, many open systems around the world, but most particularly in Australia, most of the systems are open and there are very limited closed. Everywhere else in the world, it's the opposite. There are more closed and less open systems. So my system, as you can see behind me, I don't know if you can see the machine there, that's a closed system and you lay on a bed. I've put some few things out there, but you just sort of lay down on the bed and then we do the colonic from there. And there's a speculum. Yeah. This is the speculum, gets inserted into the colon and then the tubing gets inserted to the machine and then back to the speculum. It's very, very safe. It's nice and rounded, so it cannot perforate the colon. So people who are worried about perforating the colon with this type of a system, so it's called closed, you can't perforate the colon with one of these. With an open system, I don't really want to talk about that one too much because it's not what I do. I had the option of choosing both. I went for this one because it is a lot safer. There has never been a report ever worldwide of an injury through a closed system, ever, although there has been with open. I started colonics 4 years ago. Prior to that, I was not great, I guess, not very well. I went and saw a nutritionist. She sent me to colonics. I went, oh, what the hell? So she said, I need to know, have you got parasites, candida, what's your liver like, blah, blah, blah. Go and find out. So I rang up a few systems or a few places and I said, oh, can you tell me this, this, and this? And I kept running into these open systems down in Melbourne. And they say, no, we don't have a holding pit. We can't go through that. That'd be disgusting. Then I rang another place that was a closed system and they said, yep, we can do all of that. So that's where I went. I went to Australian Colon Health and I believe Di has been to the same place. I went down there, started doing colonics and went, oh my God, I should have been doing this. I just wasted a whole year doing beauty therapy. I should have been doing colonics. And that led me here to Bendigo Wellness Centre and started doing it myself. So if you've got any questions about the difference between the open and the closed, this is the main difference. Another main difference between the two is that with a closed system, you have a therapist with you the entire treatment time. With an open system, you're pretty well on your own. So you've got to get the speculum in and then it comes out straight into the bed. There's no out tube. We have an in, filtered water in, and an out tube, and then it goes through the tube here, viewing tube, and we can see what's coming out. That's where we can tell you, are you dehydrated? We can show you the liver. I had an amazing colonic the other day where a client had been taking charcoal, and I could see the difference. It was black, yellow, black, yellow, black, yellow, all the way through. So we could see the difference where the liver detoxes into the colon. It's really amazing when you get to see that kind of stuff. Usually it's all the same, pretty much all the same color. And if you've ever done one with a closed system, they'll often say, oh, there's the liver detox there coming out. Every 3 minutes, the water goes up through your system, through your hepatic portal valve. It detoxes your liver, then your liver will release, and then the toxins will come out. So you'll see all kinds of stuff. Dehydration is probably one of the main things that we see. Parasites, candida. What else do we see? Just liver toxins, mucoid plaque, impacted waste, unprocessed foods. Often see carrot. Carrot is a main one. Corn, always seeing corn. It doesn't break down in the body. I did have a client come in several years ago who had a hernia, or she thought it was a hernia. Probably 3 months or 4 months later, we found out it was a big pocket of corn that came out. It was amazing, all this corn. I said, yeah, I told you not to eat corn. She said, I haven't eaten corn in like 6 months since you told me not to. And all this corn started pouring out the colonic. Okay, so that's mainly the difference between open and closed. My opinion is closed is better. It's safer. You get to find out what's going on. Also, a person, there's a gut-brain connection, which you probably all know about. If someone has experienced trauma of any type, but it affects people differently, but if they've experienced major trauma, or it was major trauma to them, they should not do an open system first. I have seen people on the colonics table go from being perfectly fine, having an ordinary conversation, to being almost feeling sick, or they are feeling sick, wanting to vomit. And I've had one client who actually did vomit afterwards, straight after, as she's on the toilet getting bits out, and she's also vomiting into a bucket. But that was an extreme case where she was dying. She had cancer, end of life, very toxic, and had an amazing but very, very traumatic life, which I'm happy to share at some point if anyone wants to know more about her. She was pretty incredible to talk to. So if you have had trauma, please don't do an open system first. Go for closed. It's safer, and you have a therapist there who can dial things down and control it for you. That's the other difference. We can control everything, hot, cold, the amount of water that's coming in, the temperature of the water. With an open system, it is what it is, and that's it, and you're done. And we can also stop it if we need to. We can just halt the treatment straight away and get you off if that's needed. Talking about what comes out, I think I've spoke about that really briefly. Also parasites, dehydration, the liver toxins, waste matter, mucoid plaque, undigested foods, we've said all that. Candida is amazing when it starts to really come out. It's very bubbly. It looks like the froth of a beer, but it's yellow, and it's just incredible. And people with really bad candida, it fills up the whole tube. If you have a look on my Instagram, you'll see an after the tube. It's after the client's got off. There's a little video I did of the tube with all the candida in it. That's pretty amazing. Reasons for doing colonics. I think Di's covered quite a few of them. The main one that I get is constipation. A lot of people come for that. IBS, or digestive issues like IBS, bloating, gas. They come for, believe it or not, heart issues. So if their heart isn't working properly, but they've had all their tests and there's nothing wrong with their heart, there's a blockage. Indigestion is another big one. I believe that indigestion is a blockage in the colon, in the splenic flexure, which is up underneath the rib cage. If there's a big blockage up under there and a gathering of mucoid plaque or a heap of toxic waste, then once you push that out, they don't have indigestion anymore. It's pretty amazing. Bad breath is another one. Okay, so there's all of that. I often show my clients when they come in. I don't know if this is backwards for you guys, probably. Is it? It's the right way. So this is the colon, and if you can see there, that's all of the, if I can bring myself up, nope. That's all of the things that the colon works on, which is absolutely everything. So if there's a blockage anywhere, then that means, you know, that area of the body is going to be affected. This is what happens to your colon over time with mucoid plaque, and lots of waste, compacted waste matter collected in your colon pushes it all out of whack. This is a little test case of a client that had all of these issues, like a whole heap. She was only 36 years old. This is the mucoid plaque inside her colon. Pretty amazing. This is what happened. So she had all of the mucoid plaque. She worked on a product called Herbal Fiber Blend, which is very similar to your product, Di, your colon cleanse. Doesn't really matter which colon cleanse you use, but over 18 months, got it back to normal. So you can reverse all of it if you just clean it out. So the water is a good way of getting it in and out, but the colon cleansers will scrub the whole digestive tract and help it come off the walls and then release. So it's always good to add a bit of a colon cleanse in. I know Di has hers, what's it called? Ultimate Fiber. And she often brings people over to this one because this is the capsules of the Herbal Fiber Blend, does the same thing.
Yeah, all my clients who throw Ultimate Fiber up. I send them
in powder as well.
Yep.
Probably not quite as bad. I believe it doesn't taste quite as bad. But there's also this one here too. So I don't know if you've seen this one.
I use it all the time. Yeah. So
yeah, the 5-point detox is amazing. So
yeah.
for someone who is constipated, rather than going and getting a laxative, which is actually going to cause more damage to their body, I give them this. So it'll do the parasites, it does the liver cleanse, and it stops the constipation. Like it's incredible, and it works really quickly. It did take me about 6 months to actually get the courage to have this because it doesn't taste great and it smells a bit funny to me because it's all herbs. But I've taken this many times now, and the last time I took it and I got sort of nothing much out really for the whole time. And then the very last night I got pains in the belly, and then all of this yellow stuff came out. It was almost bubbling in the toilet, and it wasn't diarrhea, but it was very frothy and fluffy. But the next morning I felt like I had a brand new hard drive installed in my brain, clear as crystal. It was just incredible. So that was a lot of toxic overload from my liver coming out. So because your liver stores everything. If you're doing colonics, you have to have this activated charcoal. It's a must. So after colonics, your body can feel a little bit unsettled. It helps settle everything. It grabs the toxins that are being released by the cells, grabs them from the lymphatic system, and then takes them straight down to your colon. It's really, really good, really good. And I've seen people lose weight by just taking this and drinking heaps of water. So as your body's unpacking the cells of the toxic waste, if your colon can't get rid of it quick enough, then the activated charcoal will stop it going back into the lymphatic system and carrying it around and getting back transported back into the body, which is what you don't want. You want to get it out. What else have I got here? Talked about the enema kit. This is really good, supporting colonics at home. Unless you're going to go and do colonics, a lot of them is in a short amount of time, you'd still need a bit of support at home to help with what's going on there. And doing coffee enemas, it's a lot cheaper to do coffee enemas at home than it is to add it into your colonic. But having a coffee enema after a colonic is amazing. Even at the start of a colonics, if some clients don't release, I'll put the coffee enema in first, and then that will stimulate the colon to release, and it stimulates glutathione production in the liver by about 700% to get the liver to release a whole heap of stuff. So it's a really good way to stimulate. If you're going for your first colonic, it probably is a really good idea to do a few coffee enemas before you go. And then that way, that's sort of going to really help you get a better result from your colonic, I feel. What else have I got here? Talked about cleaning out the colon and it gets back into shape. talked about constipation, but I'll go over that again. So constipation is mainly caused through chronic dehydration, which we see in the colonics. The feces will come out as little balls and they'll even sort of roll through the colonic. When someone isn't dehydrated, it'll come out in pieces, sometimes like really long pieces, or it'll be quite soft and it'll go through the tube. But most people on a first one will be like little balls, little nuggets coming out, and they'll roll through, and sometimes they'll be so heavy they'll stop the water from pushing through the tube. So it's really important to hydrate your body using filtered water, and I can't say that enough. It must be filtered, and having a good water filter is imperative. So many people will go for the cheap option of the Brita jug or some other piece of crap. It's just not worth it. You're just wasting money. I know that Di did a talk last week. I watched it on the video afterwards about filtered water, and theirs was really amazing. So I'd be looking into buying one of their systems or buying a jug. I use Watersco, which is what I sell here, and I find that they're really good and probably up there with the other system that they have. Maybe not as good as their system, but for something on the bench, it's easier. It's really easy. Also, Di mentioned minerals. Need to have minerals in your body. So a filtered water that puts the minerals back in is fantastic. I also sell sea minerals. So a lot of people aren't absorbing the food. So when I'm seeing that they've got a lot of undigested foods, they're not absorbing that, they're not breaking it down, they're full of mucoid plaque. So I sort of give them some things to help them off to get started. So the sea salt minerals will definitely help them to help the compaction from breaking down a bit and hydrating the stools that are already in the system that aren't coming out. We recommend do 4 colonics in a short amount of time. The first 2 within 3 days, no more than 3 days. And then the other 2 after that within 7 days of each other. So you're normally done within 3 weeks, roughly, done the first 4. Some people need more, and we can't tell you who they are until we've started and we start to get through and we start to see what's coming out. Sometimes we don't see what's really going on with them until we get to colonic 5 or 6. It could be colonic 10 before we see candida come out. We know it's there, we just can't see it. The symptoms are telling us they've got candida, but we can't see the bubbles. I don't know if you've got any questions yet. Does anyone know the difference between an enema and a colonic? So an enema will only go through to the sigmoid, and a colonic, we go all the way around to the cecum. So that's the entire colon. The enema will sit in the rectum and the sigmoid, so only in the lower part of the bowel. It'll sit there, it'll stay there, and it'll help release just the matter that's in that small part. If you're using coffee or magnesium or garlic or whatever, it will be absorbed through the hepatic portal valve down in the sigmoid, and it'll go up to your liver and it'll help with the liver and it'll help detox it through, but you won't get the water all the way through around to the cecum, whereas the colonic will. And sometimes you need 4 in order to get there, sometimes more, because if it's really compacted, the client won't allow the water to get through. They'll be constantly tapping and asking me to release. So when they fill and then they'll be going release, it takes sort of quite a while to empty the colon out so that the water will get all of the way through around to the cecum. And I can generally feel it when it gets around to that side. What else? I've talked about that. Probiotics. One of the questions I constantly get asked is, with colonics, do you lose the entire microbiome? It must be bad because you're losing all your microbiome antibody. That's absolute rubbish. It's like the lawn. When you weed your garden and you weed the lawn, then it allows the good lawn or the good plants to grow. When it's overrun with weeds, that's what you see, is just all the weeds. It's exactly the same with the colon. So when you start cleaning your colon out, you're getting rid of more bad than good. And you hopefully, you've still got your appendix, which is going to generate more probiotics back into your system. I still do recommend, though, that you take probiotics. And I often recommend with my clients that they change them. Don't always use the same brand. Like, change them around, have a look at what's in them, use good brands. Probiotic foods I really like because it's a prebiotic and a probiotic. It's giving you nutrition straight to your body, so straight into your cells. Doesn't need to be, it'll be automatically absorbed, so it doesn't need to be broken down. So that's a good one that I use, probiotic foods. And I use Dr. Ohara's as well because they've got about 13 different probiotics in there. That's another good brand. A lot of my clients will come and say, yes, I just go and buy one from Chemist Warehouse, which is fine. If they know what they're buying, I don't mind what they're using, but they're the two that I recommend because I know that those two work the best. It's always good to swap around, and it's always good to try new ones as well. I don't know if you know what prebiotics are. Prebiotics feed the bacteria. So it's food for the bacteria. A lot of people have gas. They don't know what causes it. So bloating and gas, the main cause of gas is parasites. It can be you swallowing air, and it can be parasites, undigested foods. So some people, like my mother, would have said to us, after you've had dinner, if you're still hungry, go and eat some fruit. And if you know much about health and wellness, you know you don't have fruit after you've had your main meal at the end of the day because it's going to ferment. So fermented foods will actually, sitting in your stomach, will actually mean that you'll have more gas and a haven for parasites. So anyone that has a big bloated stomach will have some type of parasites. I've also linked parasites to depression. I've had people come in with really severe depression, and it's a liver parasite that I've seen come out. It's a little yellow one, a liver fluke. You might like to have a Google of those. I feel that they are strongly associated with depression. And I also feel that a lot of those mental illnesses are parasitic related, and also cancers I feel are parasitic related. And I have a client who's currently doing research into parasites and the different organs that they're associated with. There are so many parasites out there. But cleaning your colon and keeping that clean is your waste is clean, and then your small intestine will then clean, and then your cells will clean, and then your lymphatic system will clean. So if your bin is full, colon's full, and it's not emptying out the waste, then you are never, ever going to get better. So you also, we also talked about hydration. We hydrate from the colon. So as the body, we take the food down, goes through our esophagus, into our stomach, gets churned, goes into our small intestine. That's where all our minerals and nutrients come out. Then the waste goes into our colon with the water. The water that we need to hydrate our body actually comes from the colon. So everything that comes from the small intestine is loose. When it goes into the colon, it starts to form as the water comes out, and that's how we form our stools. If you don't have enough water, then it's going to restrict, and that's how you're going to get dehydration, and then eventually the compaction, because there's not enough water there. It's still trying to squeeze all the water out. That's why water is so important. So with colonics, you're getting the water, filtered water, up through the colon. It's straight absorbed into the body. So it's hydrating. So if you're ever feeling really dehydrated, go and have a colonic. Before, when we used to travel, I used to have a colonic before my flight because I would get to the other side and I would feel amazing and I wouldn't be dehydrated, and I'd do this amazing poo when I got there. It'd be great. So when we get to travel again, go and do your colonics before your flights. Okay, I think I've pretty much covered everything. Do you have any questions?
While we're waiting for some questions to come through, I might just share my personal experience with open and closed systems. Just arranging my screen. So yeah, when I first started with colonics, I didn't know there were two systems, and I just kind of went wherever I thought I needed to go. I just kind of made a phone call, made a booking, and it was really interesting because the place that I first went to kind of just explained how to sit on the table, how to lubricate the little plastic thing, how to shimmy on down, and then ring the bell when you're ready, and we'll come in and turn the machine on. And so that's what happened. And then the lady left and I was kind of stuck on this machine thinking, well, when do I push? I was getting crampy. I was getting a little emotional because like obviously it was starting to shift stuff. So hopefully you guys all appreciate that underneath all of your physical toxicity, there is an emotional element. So when you start, that's why when we detox, we can often get teary because as we start to peel back the layers of that onion, the physical crap, the emotional crap goes with it. You know, that's why water fasting is so such an emotional roller coaster, right? It all comes out with water fasting. So I just felt like I wasn't ever really sure, and I was always a little bit nervous, and I really feel like that impacted my ability to really let go because I was like, oh, I shouldn't push too much. Because I felt like in my head, I thought, am I going to create some kind of stress in my colon by pushing too hard? I wasn't sure when to push. I wasn't sure if the cramping was normal. Anyway, I did it because I thought it had to be done, but I didn't really enjoy the process. And I did I did open systems for years. And then when the place where I was going closed down and I had to look for another one. So then I got into this closed system. And when she first said to me, oh, look, we're a closed system. And I'm like, and I went in and saw what the difference was. I'm like, I was totally confused. I said, oh my God, I didn't even know this was a thing. How does this work? Because the open system, what happens, right, is you're lying on a bed and at the end of the bed, you kind of got your legs up over this kind of trough kind of thing. And there's a toilet, almost like a hole in the back of the bed, right? So as you're pushing, the shit and the poo and all the water has somewhere to go, right? With a closed system, it's different. You don't push. And so she said, oh, we're just going to insert the little speculum and you're going to lie in the bed. And I'm like, in my head thinking, well, what happens when I push? I'm going to shit all over the floor and all over the bed. And she's like, no. You don't push. I didn't know that, right? I'm like, thank God you told me. So you don't push, you just lie there and the colon hydrotherapist manages the whole process. So you don't push, you just lie there. You communicate with her, hey, I'm getting crampy, but she can see it anyway because she can see the pressure on the machine. She can see what's coming out. She can tell you, oh my God, there's a parasite. Oh my God, there's candida. Oh, your liver's doing well today. She can give you feedback along the way. And also, if you're feeling a little bit teary, she can be there to say, okay, how are you feeling today? What's been happening for you? Do you want to talk about it? And she can really support you through the emotional purging that can often happen with colonics. So for me, when I had my first closed colonic, because I was so shocked of the difference, I was kind of a little tense and nervous because I'm like, I don't want to make a mess on the bed, not realizing you can't, right? Because the poo goes through the tube. So along the way, I said to her, I really need to go to the toilet. Like I feel like there's so much building up inside. I need to go. So she goes, yeah, no worries. She turned the machine off. She pulled out the little hose. I went to the toilet. I had the biggest poo of my entire life. And I was like, oh my God, how the fuck was I even able to walk with all that shit stuck inside me? And I sat back and that happened twice. Twice I had to get it because I was so stressed about the whole process. Twice I got her to pull the hose out and I had to go and eliminate in the toilet because it just wasn't coming out of the hose for me personally. And driving home, I just felt like a completely new person. I'm like, oh my God, is that what a colonic is meant to feel like? Because I just eliminated so much waste. And I was just shocked at the difference for me personally. So I guess I'm not saying at all that open systems are bad. It's just, it comes down to who you're working with, the colon hydrotherapist that's in the room with you, because someone needs to sit with you the whole time to tell you what's happening, to hold your hand if you feel nervous, and to just support you through the process, because it is a bit of an emotional experience. It can be anyhow. So I just want to share that experience with you, just in case any of you were thinking, oh, well, which one do I go for? If you're starting out and you've never done an enema and you've never done a colonic, please don't start with enemas because you don't know what you're doing and you don't know what the experience is meant to feel like. If you're starting out for the first time, I cannot stress how important it is to start for the first time with a closed system. And that way you get professional support. And then once you feel confident, then you can go and you can get enemas, you can do enemas at home. And then if you decide, you know what, I'm just going to do an open system because it's closer to my house, well, then you kind of know what you're doing and you can make that decision for yourself. Okay. So I just wanted to share that experience with you all. So I'm just going to open up to everyone. Does anyone have any questions at all? I'm just going to quickly open up the chat box. So Bethany has written that she's only ever tried an open system and she felt the same. Yeah. So yeah, I encourage you, Beth, to try out the closed. You'll see for yourself. It's really different. So for those of you that are located near Bendigo, if you're rural Victoria, so you obviously know that Jodes is over in Bendigo Wellness Centre. I know some of you have already visited her over that way. So she has created a special discount code for anyone that wants to go and visit for the first time. So for new clients, she always recommends, and I would recommend the same thing too, 3 or 4 colonics to start with. Doing just one random colonic is not so, right? You need to do a couple in succession and within a 2 to 3 week period. So when I'm working with my coaching clients, we'll do 3 to 4 in the first 2 weeks, and then we'll do weekly colonics until the colon hydrotherapist can see that enough has been cleared. Okay, and just be guided by whoever you're working with, because they're professionals in their field. They know exactly what's coming out. So yeah, so Chris has just said she's had 12 closed ones. Yeah, so usually you would do a couple in a row over a 2-3 year period, and then you do weekly ones for at least 6, maybe 7 weeks, longer if you need. Everyone's different. Everyone's body responds differently. So if you're over Bendigo Wellness Way, at the top of this chat, if you scroll up, I shared Jodie's Insta page. So you can reach out to her, and there is a special code. If you jump on her website, I'll share that in a second, but the code is Renew10. So if you purchase a 4-pack, you get 10% off for new clients. So I will share a link to her website in just a second. If you're not rural, if you're not over that way and it's too far for you to drive over to Bendigo and you want someone in Melbourne, you can go over to Australian Colon Health, which is where Jodie mentioned earlier. That's where I send all of my Melbourne peeps. Kim and Sue own that, mother and daughter, absolutely brilliant. They've been in the business for a very, very long time, and they're amazing. And they're a closed system, of course. And I get, all of my clients that go there get ridiculous results with the closed system. So they're just on Park Street in South Melbourne. They're called Australian Colon Health. They don't do this whole social media thing. So you just need to jump online. They've got a website, but that's about it. But they are great if you're looking for a local recommendation. Okay, does anyone have any questions? You're all very quiet. I'm just going to get the website address for you guys to connect with Jodie on her website.
So a lot of people come in and they're very nervous. I think everyone is very nervous on their first colonic. So it's really important that you connect with your therapist first. Like, take a few minutes to talk to them and ask them, what do you want me to do? And you should be really comfortable with them, because that's when you're going to get the best result. And if you find that you're not comfortable with that therapist, then go to another one, try a different one. But mostly, I don't think I've ever been anywhere where the therapist isn't amazing, because they are very people. You have to be very people persons to be able to do colon hydrotherapy. You have to connect with the client to get a good result. It's really important. And we do lots of jokes and we try and make it fun. It's never serious.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, Jones. And that the same goes for whoever you work with, right? Health coach, naturopath, GP. If you don't have that, real connection with that person, it's just not going to work, right? And so definitely the same goes for colonics. Whoever you decide to work with, you need to have a really good rapport with that person. I've gone to some places and I'm like, oh, I'm never coming back here again, because I just had a really poor experience. I just felt really unloved, not really well looked after, left to my own devices. And some of the places that I've been to, the colonics are only $60. Open system, $60. I'm like, oh, that's cheap. I'll go there. Yeah, it's cheap for a reason. It's cheap because they just chuck you in a room and see you later. I'll see you in 45 minutes, and that's it. They just leave you completely to your own devices, which I think is nuts. Even if you've been doing it for 20 years, like you should always have someone there to guide you. It's like, even a coach. I need a coach. I can't coach myself. I know all the things to do for you, but when you're in it, when you're doing something for yourself, you need someone who has that additional perspective, and you're not going to be able to do it for yourself. It just goes without saying. So I've just put in the chat Jodie's website and the code if you're rural and you want to go ahead and go over and visit Jodie and get that 4-pack. I've just shared also, if you guys haven't been to some of my other webinars, I run a lot of webinars on gut health. So if you want to explore that topic further, understand more about, well, how do we correct gut health? Yes, we're going to do the colonics, but what else can we be doing? What foods should we be eating? What foods should we be avoiding? What other things, lifestyle choices should we be making to support gut health? So go ahead and jump on that page, because all of my webinars from now until July next year are on that page, and you can register in advance and join me and learn so much more. Okay. So we haven't had any questions from the audience. Hopefully you guys, Joe, were you going to say something?
No, just saying there's no questions. I can't believe it that you don't have questions.
I've got one, just thought of one.
Go.
Yeah,
I live in Geelong, so Bendigo's not super close, but I looked up a place here in Geelong and they're a closed place, unfortunately. So driving to
closed is
Bendigo and then coming back here, can you have reaction while you're driving in the car, like after having that treatment? Can things start coming out when you're in the middle of driving? I've never had one.
I remember my very first one. I had to drive to Melbourne and back to Bendigo, so about the same distance.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, I'm just going to shit all over the car all the way home. But you actually don't. You do so much shitting in the bathroom before you leave.
Uh-huh.
You kind of feel, oh my God, am I going to make it? But no, I always tell people don't rush. Like, even if they've been to the bathroom, some are like trying to get their clothes on and get out of here as quickly as possible. And I say, no. And I'll try and hold them back a bit and chat to them, because they'll generally go back to the bathroom again a second time. I have had one girl go 7 times after her colonic. She just had to go back. She was just so compacted. But no, once you've let everything out, then no, you're fine. You probably, even some people won't go the next day because it takes a while sometimes for their colon to catch up. Yeah. So no, perfectly fine. I had a girl come from Hamilton to Bendigo, and because I wanted her to do 4, we did 2 one day, and then she came the next week and we did the 2 on another day. So she came in the morning and then she did 1 in the afternoon and then went back, and she was fine.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So you said there was an open system. Did you mean closed in Geelong?
Oh, sorry, hang on. Oh,
you said closed, actually, which is what I am. I'm
sorry,
closed.
I meant open. I don't know much about all this, but I looked up, someone's written in the chat that they've went to the one in Geelong, and I think it said,
yeah.
Sorry.
It's an open system. There you go. I've been to Geelong one. I'm in Lara, and it's an open system. Yeah. So try. Yeah, come over. Come visit me.
We went to Bendigo last school holidays and we loved it.
Yeah, it was really busy last holidays.
Yeah.
It'd be good. Come again. We need people. We need accommodation.
Yeah.
Accommodation.
Yeah.
Be great.
So Amanda, you have a question. Do you want to unmute yourself, honey?
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Jodie, for your presentation. It was lovely. I just had a question in relation to the corn story, and I was a little curious as to where the little pocket of corn was hiding. I just sort of missed that during your presentation. So,
well, I don't really know where it was hiding for her personally. So she had this, like, she said it was a hernia. She's a massage therapist. And she said, I've got this hernia. And I'm going, I can't treat her with hernia. She goes, no, it's fine. I know what it is, And so over the course of the time, we got corn out, obviously, on the first session. And then I said, we can't have corn because it just doesn't break down in the body. It's no point having corn. And then it was probably a good 3 or 4 months later that the corn came out. But I couldn't tell you exactly where it was in her colon.
Yeah.
It just all started to come out, just released. And she did more in the bathroom later, she said.
Yeah.
She was amazed. She came out of the bath, she goes, oh my God, look, feel that hernia. It's just about gone.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
So Felicity has just asked about blood pressure dropping after a colonic. Her sister had to pull over on the way home.
Okay, not sure. I've never actually had that happen.
Yeah. So what can happen? Often when you are purging toxins and your kidneys, if you've got an underlying condition with your kidneys regulate your blood pressure. And if you have a really big release, toxin release, and there's a whole heap of toxins coming out of you and a lot of stuff moving around your body and around your bloodstream, that can make you feel like you're going to pass out. So I would say that's what happened. Whether or not her blood pressure actually dropped or whether she just felt dizzy is interesting, because there's no way of proving that unless she actually measured her blood pressure in that moment. You won't know, but a lot of people can feel when they're doing any level of detoxification, they can feel nauseous and a little bit dizzy and like, oh God, I think I'm going to pass out. It's the toxins shifting around the body. And your kidneys filter the blood, the liver filters the blood, your lymphatic system dumps into the kidneys. And so if your kidneys aren't filtering properly, that's going to impact your viral load in your system. If you then go and get a colonic and all of a sudden you're having a huge release through the colon, now your kidneys start to have a bit of a release because now they've got somewhere to dump the crap in, or so your liver has got somewhere to dump it, and the organs start to kind of shift and there's some movement there. That can make you feel like you want to pass out. So yeah, activated charcoal, because activated charcoal is a binding agent. So it will bind to toxins and it will help you safely excrete them. So if you're going to be doing any kind of digestive cleansing, I really strongly encourage, you should always have some activated charcoal in the house. I don't recommend having it just for the hell of it, right? It's not like your alkaline greens where it's bringing nourishment into your body. Charcoal can bind to lots of things. It's good at binding to, it's negatively charged, so it will bind to toxins. So, but if you're going to be doing any kind of detoxification, activated charcoal will really support that process. Okay.
Yeah, it does stop you from feeling sick after a colonic, definitely. Yeah.
So you could just do, if you know you're going to have a colonic on Friday, doing some fiber. I always encourage fiber. And yeah, we get fiber from our diet. The thing is, guys, if you think back to how we used to live our life 100 years ago, our lifestyles are incredibly different today. We can't compare our body's function compared to what it was like 100 years ago. 100 years ago, my grandparents didn't have to take fiber supplements because they were, in the garden or, for 10 hours a day. They were constantly moving. They didn't sit on their bum in front of Zoom for 8 hours straight. They ate off the land. They didn't use chemicals in their house. It was a completely different scenario. Nowadays, we're being completely pumped with chemicals, and these chemicals make their way into our bloodstream, which have to eventually make their way out of our body through the colon and through the digestive tract. So anything that we can do to support the body's natural detoxification is always going to be helpful. So yes, eat your fruit, yes, eat your vegetables, but depending on your constitution, your iris constitution, depending on your genetic makeup, depending on your predispositions, depending on any existing conditions, depending on your tendencies, any colon weaknesses, we don't all have perfect systems. So sometimes your fruit and your vegetables just aren't enough. I can't tell you how many people I work with that they're eating a relatively good diet, but they're not pooping and they're drinking okay water. There's no real, obvious reason for them not to be pooping. And then I look closely at their diet. I'm like, well, where the hell are you getting your fiber from? You're not getting enough fiber. I give them ultimate fiber and all of a sudden they're pooping. So, there is value in supplementing with some fiber. There is no shame. I know there's, depending on who you listen to, there's some shame around supplementation. If you were eating Maccas every day and then you wanted to supplement your iron, I'd be telling you're wasting your money, right? You're creating very expensive urine. Supplementation is not to take the place of a good diet, but supplementation is to support you in your effort to correct your health. So taking some fiber daily is incredibly beneficial. I take my fiber every single day religiously. The first thing I do when I get out of bed. And I do have an amazing diet and I do move my body and I do poop 3 or 4 times a day, but I still take my fiber because I don't want anything to go wrong. I know sometimes when we're stressed, stress alone can kill your digestive system. I can't tell you the number of people I've worked with last year who had chronic constipation because they were stressed out of their minds because of what was going on with COVID. So you could be eating all the right foods and you could be drinking water and you could be doing, moving your body and all those things. But if you're stressed, when you hold on to shit, when you hold on to emotional shit, you physically hold on to, to shit. When you're in knots. That's why you should never eat when you're stressed, because if you eat when you're stressed, your body is not going to be able to assimilate the nutrients because you're not in a receive mode. When you're stressed and you've got gastric, tension, nervous gut, You're wasting your time eating food. All you're doing is you're literally kicking yourself whilst you're down. If you're stressed, the best thing you can do is just drink some juice or drink some water. And then when you're feeling like you're not so stressed anymore, then you can go and have a meal, because then you're going to be chewing properly. You're going to be connecting with your food. Your digestive system's going to be able to function and break down the food properly. And you're going to be able to absorb your nutrients properly. I know some of you listening right now have enormous amounts of stress in your body, and your food comes out mostly undigested because you're stressed, right? You're not connecting with your food. Your digestive system's not producing the right levels of enzymes. So, you know, we all could do with a little bit of fiber, all of us, right? So just something to think about if you're sitting here listening, you're thinking, fuck, I don't poop enough, or, you know, I'm always bloated, or I'm farty, you know. I had a lady last week say to me, when I fart, it literally makes my eyes water. Like, I know, right? Welcome to, well, we're all the same. We all have those moments, right? There's no shame in talking about farting and pooping. These are the conversations that can prevent bowel cancer. So I always say to my clients, send me your poo pics. I want to see them. I want to see what comes out. I'm not a freak. I want to see what comes out, because that's the evidence that you're healing. We can see the parasites, the plaque, the candida, the stones. We want to see this shit coming out of your body, because that's how we know that you're on the right track. So these are the conversations we should be having more of. When I was really sick and toxic, I was pooping once a week. I thought that was normal. And when someone said to me, no, you're meant to go at least twice a day, I'm like, how the hell am I going to have, how do people do their job? Like, I don't have that kind of free time to go to the toilet twice a day. That was crazy. But that's just what I thought was right. Well, that was my normal. So these are the conversations that we should be having with each other. You know, you should be talking to your kids, talking to your sisters, because bowel cancer is 1 in 8. 1 in 8. Completely preventable disease. Bowel cancer is a lifestyle disease. Completely lifestyle disease. So, you know, it's not the kind of thing that you want any of your loved ones to suffer with. So if you want to have a little bit of fiber and do some regular colonics, you're already ahead of millions of other people, because there aren't enough people doing these 2 simple things. Okay. So I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation. Thank you again, Jody, so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Really, really grateful. Does anyone have any last questions before we go ahead and say good night to you all? While we're waiting, I'm just, thanks, Kristen. Tomorrow, the recording to this presentation will go out via email. You are more than welcome to share it with friends, family members, right? This, like I said, this is important stuff. Everyone should know the basics of pooping, right? So share the link. And reach out if you have any questions. Reach out to Jody if you want to, you know, go ahead and book some sessions with her. And join me for my next webinars. The next one is running very soon. It's actually called Simple Solutions to Heal Your Gut, and it will be on September 16th. I'll probably do something before then, but join me. I shared the link in the chat. So education, right? Knowledge is power. So join me. Lots of love to you guys. Thank you all so much for joining. Thank you for your beautiful comments. Hey, Suzanne. Thank you so much, guys. Lots of love to you all. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Danielle. All right. Good night to you all. Take care of yourselves. Look after your loved ones. Thanks, Beth. All right. Thanks, Jody. So much love to you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Good night, everyone.